Good day everyone, so hope you're all doing really well. I saw that the latest Spiral Abyss is giving a couple of people a headache, so I decided to tackle this from a bit of a, I would say, normal casual perspective. So you're running your Raiden Chevreuse Overload team because you watch some sort of Genshin Fury Crafter and that's what you're going to do, and that's something that you like. It's fair for your account. You've got a couple of units, but you don't have all the meta units. You don't have a Flints and you don't have a Lorma, so what's the deal? What are you going to do in this Abyss? Well, the first halves I think are actually fairly easy, and even the crab at the end, if you just wait it out, there is a damage window there. So the first halves I didn't find that problematic. It's the second halves here that I do find very worrisome for a very good reason. When you go through your rotation, that's when you beat the enemy's initial health bar, and then you have to start again with your rotation because it's now got this little white bar going at the top. And the problem is that once you get your rotation going, especially as you can see with the Raiden Overload team, it's at that exact point that the enemy regenerates and you have to restart all over. So if you look here in the background, we're now in our rotation with Raiden. We're going to hit the enemy, we're going to hit him, smack him, and the whole point is that I want to try and reduce his HP, okay? Because, you know, there's time on the clock. Okay, brilliant. Now I need to restart my rotation. So this is actually the optimal damage window because I want to try and get that white health bar down as much as possible, and yet at the moment when I restart my maximum damage window, I can't do this. And this is not just unique to this team, it's unique to a couple of other teams. So this is the headache. You're effectively having to beat an enemy over and over and over again. So they've got an artificial like inflated health pool, which is a bit of the frustration. Now this doesn't mean it's not possible, it just means that you need to be running some sort of meta team, and you need to have a lot of like strong units. Now if you have your Mavikas Itlalis, once again, stuff like this I've seen online, it's pretty trivial, but for your older teams, I mean, this is a C2 plus Raiden. I mean, it is a bit of a, I wouldn't say this is a bit of a struggle, but then again, I've got units to clear the first half very quickly, so I can imagine that if you are like running low on time, that this second half can be very annoying, especially if you don't have Flints and Loma. So yeah, that is just very painful. This is unlike the old Genshin Abyss, where even if the enemies had some gimmicks and stuff, it was still fairly, you still had a lot of options. In this case, it just feels like, well, it's a DPS check, or it's a Flints check first and foremost, and then it becomes an annoying DPS check. So if you're someone that's been playing since, I'd argue, anything from 3.0 onwards in Genshin, or sorry, you've started before 3.0, you'll have enough resources. But for everyone else, damn, this can become very frustrating and painful. You can just see how many times I have to cycle through Raiden playing this, and it's just really painful. And I tried to do a couple of variations, perhaps wait a bit and see, but at the end of the day, it really didn't matter. Yeah, so the first time I saw this Abyss, this is the run that I did here in the background. I've got a couple of C6 units that are level 100, so this is just purely for entertainment. But let's talk about the Abyss in a bit more of a general sense. The problem I have is that Stygian Onslaught already had the enemies like the crab and that agent right there on the last floor. And the problem is now those exact same enemies that were supposed to be for shield units, in other words Loma and Flints, now they're in the Spiral Abyss. This is what I call correlated endgame, and it really basically means that Genshin Impact doesn't have a lot to offer you. So what I mean by that is there's not enough like fresh gameplay. It's not like you can say, okay, I can't beat the highest levels of Stygian Onslaught because I'm not a whale, I'm not the target audience, so I'm gonna go and beat the Spiral Abyss, which is supposed to just be a test not of your characters or whether you've got the right characters, but whether you've built all your characters, you've got all the artifacts, you understand rotations. That to me was always the hallmark of the Abyss, as a testing ground for your teams and then to see how you can improve, unlike me that just absolutely whiffed my Nida E in the background. I just saw it now, that's actually kind of hilarious. But yeah, so that was always the philosophy of the Abyss, and obviously something like the Imaginarium Theatre was always designed to be a check just to see that you've got all of the units in the game. So it's almost giving you a reason to build more units than just the meta. And I thought that maybe the combination of the Stygian the Imaginarium Theatre arguing for breadth of character roster whilst not necessarily requiring the depth in terms of the artifacts and level checks, and the Spiral Abyss giving you that level check, was a very decent balance in Genshin Impact. I thought you had like, the one was a DPS check and the other one was a roster check, but now you've got a shill on the characters, and even the Imaginarium Theatre itself almost punishes you if you don't keep up and have many characters. And this shift in the endgame philosophy can burn out a lot of players. And you can now understand why Hoyo's like, well, okay, if you don't want the combat, just do Meliastra Wonderland, and by the way, pay up in that as well. Although we know most people probably will just get tired of the cosmetics, but there is a temptation there, because if you're not going to be in the combat, the alternative things like the Meliastra skins, that is going to be a strong temptation for a lot of people. Mark my words. For those of us that have gotten into the combat, man, it really is getting brutal with these character checks and very gimmicky bosses. I don't mind gimmicks on bosses, provided that the gimmicks aren't there to shill or like showcase the new characters. More so if there's like a clever mechanic you have to play around, think around, adapt or adjust your rotation, and a lot of teams can do it. That's what I prefer from from the Genshin endgame. But in any case, look, it's the direction the developers have taken. I'm just going to give you my commentary on it. I'm not a big fan of it, but obviously, I'm also the type of person that has enough firepower that it doesn't worry, so maybe you shouldn't take my opinion that seriously. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. And also, thank you so much for watching. Cheers.